welcome to the Zadzooks Happy Hour, a podcast providing commentary on the latest in film, TV, games, and comics. My name is Todd Stoll, and I'm joined by 25-year veteran reporter covering pop culture, video games, and technology for the Washington Times, Joseph Zadkowski.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I don't know.
How's Game of Thrones going for you?
How's it going for you? I think it's going great.
I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
It's got a nice pace to it.
I'm itching a lot. I think thinking about grayscale. That's some serious problems there.
You're just looking in the mirror
That's
every day.
some serious eczema issues.
Yeah. I hope he finds his cure.
I think he's gonna.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna come back and do something amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
Maybe he'll sit on the Iron Throne.
No.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, but that's not gonna.
It's not gonna happen. Oh, so much came out of
We have
Comic-Con.
no plan. What are you doing?
No, I've got plans.
Okay, good. I can sit here and react.
So much came out of Comic-Con. So much. Unbelievable amount of stuff.
So in the early days,
when you went to Comic-Con,
it was actually about
comic
books. And that was awesome because a lot of unknown artists and writers became important. And they were treated with respect. Yeah. Because it's like one of America's greatest indigenous art forms. And it was important back then. Now, it's a steaming pile
of PR.
Of pop culture PR.
Yeah.
Where crap all over the place, and it's just not worth it.
No. I can't.
I'm sorry.
I can't. Unless you went in with full-blown press credentials.
Right.
It doesn't seem fun.
You'd never get through any of this stuff.
It's just miserable. I mean, I hear the lines are terrible.
Right.
If you ever wanted to see a panel, good luck with that.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you wait in line for signatures for hours, and then they leave.
Nobody's that important.
I mean, IMDb got a boat, and they hired Kevin Smith. And he interviewed people on a boat outside the convention center.
Of course he did.
And next to him, you could tell it was a day later, Warner Brothers had a boat, and it was all decorated with, like, WB logos. It was ridiculous. So I think there were a few things that came out of Comic-Con which I thought were pretty cool. You finally got to see the first... wasn't a poster, but it was the first piece of artwork for Avengers Infinity Wars.
Okay.
Which looked very cool, and it shows every character that's in it, which was nice, including Spidey. He's in it. So that was kind of nice to see. The new trailer for Thor Ragnarok.
That kind of got me excited.
That looks like a lot of fun. You know what? It reminds me of Guardians of the Galaxy in that kind of feel with the humor and just the look of it, very vintage and retro.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited for that. There was a lot of discussion Black Panther and what that's going to be like.
Yeah.
But I think we're ways away from a real legitimate trailer for that. That's, meaty. The Pennywise, Stephen King remake of the movie looks creepy and terrifying.
Definitely.
Stranger Things, which I think we talked about last week, had their trailer released.
Right.
Set to Thriller by Michael Jackson, which was very cool.
Walking Dead.
That Walking Dead thing. So you've seen it, right?
I've seen it.
Okay. In the end of the Walking Dead trailer, Rick looks older.
Right.
And there is an arc in the comics after they beat Negan that it's a jump in time.
Really?
And that everyone has formed an alliance now that Negan has been eliminated. And if they do with Negan what they did in the comics, you really had to pay attention to it, but there's a cane in a corner. And in the final battle with Negan breaks Rick's leg. So you assume that battle has happened because he has a cane. And he does limp after that.
Wow.
So if that happens...
Didn't catch that.
But Negan... spoiler alert. Negan gets captured and thrown into the jail that Morgan
in
made.
The comics.
Right.
But we don't know if that'll...
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
You just won't see him.
Right.
But I don't know where they take it from there.
Right.
So much stuff. Fear the Walking Dead's trailer came out, and I could have cared less.
I didn't even. Is that still on the air? Just kidding.
It is still on the air.
It's probably a pretty great show, but I just haven't had. I've had my fill of zombies.
There was a ton of stuff around CW, which they always do in their programming, like The Flash and what they're going to do with that, and Supergirl. Hooray! It's great.
It appears Batman's still happy being Batman.
Although
right?
They did announce that The Flash is taking the what's the name of it? The fire or what's the thing where Batman's parents is actually Batman, his father. What's that arc? I'm totally blanking on it.
I have no idea.
Flashpoint, I think.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, Flashpoint. Well, so the Flash is taking the Flashpoint point. They're taking that arc, and there's someone released a very cool picture of the guy who plays Negan, Jeffrey Dean Morgan
as Batman. Now, the Jeffrey Dean Morgan was
the
Bruce Wayne's father in
Superman versus Batman.
Yeah,
and funny enough, Lauren Cohen, also from The Walking Dead, was his mother.
So that's interesting.
There's just a lot going on, too much to cover. Maybe one day we'll go with legitimate press credentials and do it right.
It's so crowded.
I know.
The biggest problem with it, I'm just telling you from a grump point of view, is any room you get in that area, you're gonna be next to a room full of geeks
playing D&D.
And they're gonna be all up all night, causing you problems. So I'd almost think if we could get something like
New York
with my timeshare, with my timeshare, get it off San Diego. So you'd have to get up in the morning and drive in a little bit.
Yeah,
I would do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, New York Comic Con's pretty decent too.
I've gone to a New York Comic Con. It was decent.
Yeah. San Diego is just. I mean, it's sort of like upfronts all over again.
The one in Chicago is not bad.
Yeah,
that's a pretty subdued one, but there's still a lot of guests.
I mean, there's DC's has Awesome Con, but I sort of feel like they haven't found their groove yet.
Right.
But they're getting there. I think they had some pretty good talent this year.
Hasbro has its own con now.
Come on.
Star Wars.
Oh, just the toys alone coming out of
G.I. Joe, Transformers,
the amount of
Marvel
stuff coming out of Comic-Con.
Oh, toy-wise.
Right. Forget it.
That's right.
That would be
everything's an exclusive.
That would be 3 hours of our time just discussing that. So, yeah, it's basically one big giant money machine.
It is, and it plays to every geek on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's sort of like the film industry's or really studio version of an upfront.
And comic books take a far, far, far back seat
to
the whole event.
Unless you're Jim Lee
or Stan
Lee and you're signing comics that were designed, or any one of the Marvel guys or any one of the DC guys who right now is sort of the lead designers.
Right.
But it's a signing. People aren't going to buy this stuff.
And they're not probably sitting in panels. That might be the only panels you can get in now. Like, what's coming up for DC Comics?
I mean, poor Stan Lee. That dude is just dragged around now to get as much PR as possible.
I saw him hanging out in some vintage plane somewhere. There was some weird...
He looks tired.
Well, he's old.
I know, but
give the guy a break.
But, I mean, man, like... Disney is pushing Marvel so heavily, and he's involved in it.
Yeah,
that man, I look exhausted for it.
Maybe he's keeping alive that way.
Yeah,
you got something to do, right?
So yeah, lots going on. We'll bring it all to you as we get more cool stuff.
Yep.
So today we've got 3 films that we've screened that we'll go through. We have Boss Baby. We have
The Boss Baby.
Sorry. Ghost in the Shell.
Yep.
And Resident Evil Vendetta.
Yes.
Why don't we start with Ghost in the Shell?
And
then we'll take a break.
Okay.
And we'll come back. What did you think of the movie?
The first time I've seen it twice. First time I saw it, I dozed off in the middle of it. And I just couldn't help but think that it totally missed the point. It was so, like, homogenized of the original. It was weird. It was like, it was like they're trying to borrow something from Blade Runner. They're trying to borrow something from Minority Report, but they totally forget that they actually have source material. But they couldn't have forgotten because there's scenes in that movie that are exactly pulled from the anime.
I found it to be a little short.
Really?
Like, it just seemed like I was waiting.
It's just under 106 minutes, so it's under 2 hours.
Yeah, but I was waiting for like something very meaty, and I never got it.
That's right.
And so...
And the ending was just a charade.
Oh.
It just completely ruined the movie for me. And
yeah.
I'm not bringing it up. It's...
The special effects for the futuristic tone, what I will say is that they attempt to incorporate this sort of VR experience in terms of advertising throughout. We assume they're like in a Hong Kong type, or big city Japan situation. And
we're giving no background in this movie. Nobody has any idea what you're talking about.
So we'll get into it. But
so they have advertising holograms
that are,
the director nicknamed large.
It looked like Lego
figures, Lego bricks, standing next to Sky Cool.
Okay, so the movie really has one star.
Right.
Scarlett Johansson.
Yep.
Goes by Major.
A cyborg with a human brain and enhanced synthetic body. Right. Well, but that's not brought up very much. In the original of the entire philosophy of the movie.
Yeah.
Here it's kind of like they bring it up a few times.
So she's part of, I guess, an elite
cyber anti-terrorism unit.
Yeah.
Section 9.
It's like a task force.
Yeah.
And she is the primary weapon. She can turn invisible.
She cloaks. Yes. She has a skin-tight outfit that cloaks.
It is skin-tight, too.
My
goodness, that looked uncomfortable.
Yep.
And it's very Blade Runner-ish in terms of like lots of seedy areas.
And they're hunting a cyber terrorist.
Yes, who ends up having more importance than we will give away here. That was really cryptic. But I don't know what else to say about that other than
he was Jimmy in Boardwalk Empire.
Yes.
That's all I can say.
I know.
And it was very distracting to look at him because I still think of him as Jimmy in Boardwalk Empire.
So every human has some sort of cybernetic implant, it seems.
Yeah,
and they pay for it.
Cool. And it's cyberpunk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a dirty
it's very
world.
It's very grimy.
Grimy world.
But what I didn't understand is that for how futuristic this is supposed to be, the cars look like they're from the 80s.
Yeah, it was like Back to the Future.
Very boxy cars.
Right.
And then at one point, it looked like she was driving the motorcycle from Tron.
Yeah.
So
I can see that.
I had a hard time having read through the motion comics or the actual comic series, and the fact that everyone is Asian, and the fact that the bulk of the cast is not, with the exception of he's not a general, but whoever's the head of the task force.
Right.
He speaks exclusively in Japanese, doesn't speak English at all.
Right. Which makes
but then everybody else speaks in English.
No sense. Which doesn't make any sense.
Which I get but I thought his character was the best. He was like a badass.
Right. He is like the Clint Eastwood of Japan,
Yeah.
supposedly, or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
And he seemed it. But it was just, I don't know. There just wasn't anything there. It was just, it missed, as to your point, it had so much potential and so many opportunities to fall in line with the source material, and it just seemed to like skim over it every time.
Right. That's what made the original so good. It managed to balance the philosophy that it was trying to push about what is man's humanity. And if you introduce technology and androids and robotics and all that stuff into that humanity, where does he exist in the universe, and instead, so it balanced that in the anime with some pretty great action. This one kind of like tried to edge blockbuster action and then wedge in some things to think about.
Yeah, because there were times where it seemed like Major had a struggle with disarming or killing a cybernetic or robot.
Right.
And you had those flashpoints of like her
previous life
and her conscience as to like, why am I doing this and why do I feel bad about it? But then they just completely never embraced that.
And the whitewashing was an issue for fans.
It was a big issue for fans.
To the point where the original director of the anime had to like make an announcement or something. They released a video of him going, "Boy, this is great. This is awesome.
Yeah.
It's perfect. I couldn't have done it better." So,
I mean, I will say, like, the haircut that they gave her and, like, the tone of it is fine. It's just that it was weird to see American actors and Asian actors mixing together, and at one point, she's playing a character who was Asian in her original body and is now Scarlett Johansson. I mean, I guess it's an upgrade. But it's
we don't know that.
It's just yeah, you do.
I mean, we don't know if it's an upgrade.
Well, right.
This could have been a very attractive.
They show her
Japanese.
They show her.
See, I fell asleep during that part.
Okay, well, Scarlett Johansson's nicer looking.
Okay,
yeah, but it's just,
in your opinion,
it's just weird. It was very disjointed for me in that point because I feel like there are enough. Very talented Asian actors who could have really done a nice thing with this.
Yeah.
But they wanted the star power, I guess. I won't watch this again. This is a one and done for me.
I'm sitting through it one more time. Because I consider the visuals pretty spectacular, especially in 4K.
Yeah.
The cities, the actual assembling of the cyber.
So what you're going to do is you're going to watch it on mute. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
I'm going to watch it on mute.
This for me is like a C-.
Yeah, I mean, being a big fan of the original, it's like C. It's just...
It's pretty disappointing. I kind of think they knew going into it was going to have problems.
Well, they've got some extras on there, and that's where that director actually pops in, the original director, to say, Avi Arad produced, and he was one of the guys instrumental in bringing the entire Marvel Universe to life.
Yeah.
He was back there when the first X-Men came out.
Well,
I think the guy actually interviewed him.
He missed the mark.
He did miss the mark.
One, unfortunately. But give it time. They'll reboot it. There'll be another version of it.
Okay.
All right. When we come back, we will dive into The Boss Baby.
Yep.
And before we go, we'll do a quick live reminder that every Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern on HBO, Game of Thrones, as it airs live, you can go to our parent company sponsor / whatever we're calling it, Communities Digital News, and you can chat live with experts there.
Yes,
and follow
you will
along.
learn something. I've learned something every week.
There is good stuff in there, so it's we'll run the ad here during the break. You can check out comdiginews.com, and we'll be back.
Communities Digital News, built by the writers and editors that deliver the news 24 hours a day. Visit comdiginews.com. That's COMMDIGI news.com. And support the next evolution in news.
Okay, before we dig into the Boss Baby animated movie,
I gotta wake up. Sorry.
Let's talk about the 0 rating for the Emoji Movie, which released...
Right, sure. I don't know anything about it, and I don't care. The only thing I can tell you is it's almost beat Dunkirk this week.
Yeah.
Which makes 0. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's a wacky kids animated movie.
I mean, every single review was negative, that the script was terrible. It was like they just threw something together for the sake of throwing it together.
Take your kids, rent Pinocchio, or rent Monsters, Inc., or rent something really good, and let them get exposed to that.
Yeah.
Okay?
I mean,
do yourself a favor.
I think people are going because Patrick Stewart is the poop emoji.
Really? You think that's the big draw?
I think that's the big draw.
Okay.
That's what people want. They want to hear a poop emoji with a very British accent. Very proper Captain Kirk, or Captain Picard, British accent.
Civilization's collapsing in front of us.
It is. It is. So,
speaking of civilization collapsing,
we'll move on to another animated film, The Boss Baby.
Yes, it is a movie befitting Alec Baldwin's temperament. So it's perfect.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
Up and down, up and down, up and down.
He is the voice of the Boss Baby, if you didn't know.
I am well aware.
He's very... Oh, I'm just telling the listeners, the two of them. He's very Glengarry Glen Ross in this movie, which is perfect.
I mean, the premise is interesting enough.
It's a great premise, I thought.
With, I mean, yeah.
How can you say what I've given to... Come on, you give some of it away.
So
I've got it right here if you want me to go.
Do it.
So, Timothy Templeton, he's a 7-year-old only child. One day his parents let him know that he's going to have a new brother. And his new baby brother does show up, but the baby brother's wearing a business suit. And Tim finds out he can talk like an adult. You know, he can write memos. And
he spreads cash around, makes it rain.
Makes it rain cash. And there's definitely something wrong with his brother Theodore. And it's, you know, when we dig a little bit further, Theo's on a mission. He's on a mission to stabilize the baby love quotient, which is being slowly sapped away by cuddly cute puppies. And it's up to Theo and Tim to solve the mystery and break into a company called Petco? Puppyco.
Not Petco.
Not Petco. Sorry. And which is essentially a giant dog farm.
It's a puppy mill.
It's a puppy mill.
Yeah.
Which kind of turned me off a little bit.
For which his parents work for. Yeah.
And is owned by Francis E. Francis, played by Steve Buscemi.
Yeah.
He's pretty funny. Not hysterical.
And it was definitely Steve Buscemi's voice. No question. It wasn't masked. It was noticeable. There's
definitely a lot of baby butt cheeks.
Yes. A lot of.
They were quite restrained in any flatulence jokes. I noticed only one.
Only one.
Good. I'm confirming that.
Mm-hmm.
I laughed a couple times out loud. I thought there was an Indiana Jones scene that was kind of fun and nostalgic.
Mm-hmm.
I got a kick out of the Elvis impersonators, but I always do. But after that, you know, it was a little heartwarming. You know, it was a little bit about sibling rivalry. It wasn't out of control, frenetic, crazy.
No, I think it followed that typical animated film formula.
But it's made a ton of money. Again, like over $300 million, I think. So it's definitely
My kids were not amused.
And that's really what's most important, right?
So I had a 6-year-old and an almost 9-year-old watch it, and at the end of it, they both exclaimed that was an awful movie.
Wow.
Without me even saying anything, like, "Oh, what'd you think, guys?" I got a thumbs down from one of them, and the other one was like, "I feel like I just wasted my time watching that."
Your kids are quite sophisticated.
And they
any specifics?
They just thought it was lame.
Right.
Maybe not enough action. I kind of thought the whole scene where he's recorded his brother talking on a cassette tape, and he's got his staff,
his henchmen,
chasing around the backyard, and they make it seem like it's way bigger than it really is.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty ingenious.
Yeah.
I mean, the animation was really well done. But, you know, it's DreamWorks. I wouldn't expect anything different from an animation studio.
Did you notice the kids had those Margaret Keane-style eyes?
Yes.
Nice big popping at you eyes, which I thought was kind of cute.
They make those in stuffed animals now, too. It's creepy. What I found the most jarring was that the father was voiced by Jimmy Kimmel, who doesn't, when he speaks, does not have the most articulate voice.
Right.
He's got a very unique speech.
Right.
And they didn't attempt to polish that at all. So there are times where it's like, maybe you should have asked him to enunciate what you just said, because it was
Right.
It was just, it's his normal voice,
And
so
Lisa Kudrow's the mom, and sounds like Lisa Kudrow.
yes, it does.
So there's no, and even frankly, Alec Baldwin sounds like
Oh, there's I mean,
Alec Baldwin.
That baby is Alec Baldwin,
Right.
in a miniature form.
So love him or hate him, you get him for 89 minutes or how long this is.
I mean, it was fine. I dozed off.
97 minutes. You dozed off.
I dozed off twice through it.
Wow.
But I still didn't think it was a bad animated movie. Maybe not as bad as my kids did.
So I'll bring up something about 4K that I've been noticing with animated movies, and that is there's not a whole lot of difference between a 4K animated movie and a Blu-ray animated movie.
Whoa.
And I don't know quite what the technical specifics are. I don't know if the high dynamic range in 4K, it sharpens the colors. I actually like watching the Blu-ray version of the movie rather than 4K, which is kind of weird. But
aren't they doing animated now in 6K?
I don't know.
I mean, I thought that anything new coming out was all like exported out into like a 6K master.
Disney releases Blu-ray animated all the time, and it looks spectacular.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks far better than this movie.
Yeah,
did.
I mean, when was the last time Disney did a 4K?
Never.
Star Wars.
No.
I thought
Their first 4K UHD release is going to be Guardians
Is it?
2. They just announced it like a month ago.
Yeah, well, and that's coming out in 2 weeks.
Couple of weeks.
2 weeks.
Right.
3 weeks.
Right.
Listen, on an animated film, I think if you had a younger child watching it,
You got 2.
I know, I don't know, maybe girls.
How does this movie make $325 million?
Maybe it was better in the theaters.
And as far as a special edition, I didn't see anything that special.
No.
The featurettes were lame.
And
there was
short.
like 11 minutes of... No, it wasn't even... Forget 11 minutes. It was 7 minutes of production, and there were like 5 animated shorts, all of which just basically repulled stuff, most of it from the movie.
Yep.
Only thing interesting was there's an 11-minute look at 4 deleted scenes, and the director, McGrath, and the producer talk about it. Explain why they cut the... I always like that stuff. They take the time and they explain why it wasn't there, and it was basically animated storyboards. They didn't even have the finished product.
Right.
But that was, at least to me, interesting for a special feature. Everything else, not happening. So I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah.
Made a ton of money.
It was like
B-?
B- for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worse for you because you had 2 kids there who couldn't...
I mean,
What's the last animated movie that you made them watch that we had here? Resident Evil Vendetta?
Yeah. Kubo.
Yeah, and they like that?
They like that.
Boy, what a difference, though.
Moana.
Oh, Moana was great.
They loved that.
Right.
This, I think, was just like, I think maybe they thought that it was going to be a little bit lowbrow humor, a little more silly than it was.
Sophomoric, a little more,
and it was
more fart jokes.
And it was very serious. I mean, and you know, they're at that age where fart jokes are the cream of the crop. So,
right.
You know, maybe it just played itself off a little too proper.
Right.
And not enough sort of laughs, which I don't really think they intended to have that many laughs. It seemed pretty... It definitely seemed very formulaic.
Yep. And they were gearing more toward the heartwarming sibling rivalry that we've all had if you have a sibling. Yeah. I don't have a sibling, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I got everything I wanted. That explains a lot, doesn't it?
Aren't you lucky?
Doesn't that explain a lot?
It does. Okay. So do you want to jump into Resident Evil or you want to take a break?
We can take a break.
Okay, let's take a break and let's figure out what things we can talk about with Resident Evil. All right, we'll do that.
Communities Digital News, built by the writers and editors that deliver the news 24 hours a day. Visit comdiginews.com. That's COMMDIGI news.com. And support the next evolution in news.
You didn't get your nap, did you?
I had my nap.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
See, it's not a good idea. I took a nap, too.
Yeah, well,
you're very lethargic.
You're shot out of a cannon.
Oh, am I?
You're ready
Compared
to go.
you, I'm just roaring.
You're ready to go.
So you don't need to have any background to appreciate this movie, do you?
Resident Evil Vendetta?
Yeah.
No, I didn't think so.
Did you appreciate some of it that you watched?
I watched about 15 minutes of it because I didn't have enough time, but it seemed intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like, I mean, I've seen the Resident Evil films before. I think they progressively got worse as they kept doing more of them.
It's basically like the cut scene. This is like an animated cut scene of a video game.
Yeah.
Except it's 97 minutes long.
It's 97 minutes long, and you can't play along.
Yeah. Even though there are shots where they're over the shoulder of some characters, which looks just ripped out of the video game.
I know.
Which is awesome.
I know.
For a fan of Resident Evil, it's a pretty good adventure.
It looked really good.
It's got Chris Redfield, who's like one of the original BSAA agents. It's got Leon S. Kennedy, who's also one of the stars of the video game series, and Rebecca Chambers, who we haven't seen in a while, who is now a scientist. So this is good. And what they're trying to do is they're not going after the Umbrella Corporation, which has been the villain, and Albert Wesker all along. Mm-hmm. There's a new villain, and almost at points a sympathetic villain. He's a weapons dealer who is using Umbrella Corporation's viral concoctions, if you will, to turn a lot of people into creatures and zombies. And it's a vendetta against the U.S. government who tried to bomb him during his wedding. Okay? So they're going out to try and stop this guy, and he wants to turn New York into the zombie capital.
Isn't it
it's
already?
A pretty good.
I mean, it's
a pretty good.
Yeah.
Lot of great scenes and this is like pretty much an R-rated cartoon. It's got blood all over the place.
Yes.
There's lots of splattering going on. The zombies, the living dead, I think that's what they're calling them, are really fast. There's some lumbering ones.
Yeah, I have issue with that. But then again, I like my zombies slow.
Right. It looks beautiful. I had little complaints about what was going on screen. And they've got this. The villain has two henchmen. A guy named Diego, who looks like Bane from the comic book series, the Batman comic book series. Yep. Really good looking. And his daughter, Maria, who is dressed kind of like... she's in black leather. Makes no sense.
Right.
But she is there, and she's enhanced also.
Well, the one thing that I've noticed, like when Telltale did the Walking Dead game, and they had all the cutscenes, I could have just watched the cutscenes, right?
Right.
I mean, you save a lot of money in doing that.
Right.
And I think that this premise is smart because, again, it's sort of like a cutscene, but you get really invested in it.
Right.
Like, I remember the original Walking Dead Telltale game, and it was, like, heart-wrenching because you had that little girl.
Yeah.
And then you had the guy.
That's right. Yep.
I mean,
yeah.
And like, I feel the short amount of time I watched it, I was invested the same way. It was like, oh, okay, let me sit down and just enjoy this because it did seem like a cutscene that was eventually going to build up to something exciting.
Right. There's a great monster in it at the end, so if you get a chance, go back and watch it.
I will.
Looks great on 4K. I was very happy with it. Even though it's animated, I was happy with it. And they actually offer a lot of extras. There is a great commentary track with the director and the producer and the writer who are basically sitting around like they're in a frat talking about this in Japanese. It's subtitled. So you got to pay attention while because you're not listening to anything unless you speak Japanese. Mm-hmm. And they're having fun. They're laughing. And they're getting a kick out of it, and they're pulling no punches. You know, they're talking about how, that they had to recreate these guns digitally exactly to specification, or it would upset certain people in the industry. So that was, I thought, was really funny. They talked about how difficult a choice it was to portray a zombie child in the beginning of the movie, which was pretty interesting. Their budget challenges, which they were always cheap-shotting. That was great. They also break apart some of the animation into step certain number of steps, and they show you each head of the department talks about what they had to do to bring like the final monster to life or action scenes.
Right.
This is all good stuff. I mean, if you're somebody who's interested in digital and computer animation and modeling, you're going to want to watch all this.
Yeah.
And you're going to want to learn and enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I thought it was great. I thought the package was great. I really had no complaints over it, other than the fact that I wanted more Diego and Maria. So I'm giving it A-.
Okay. Decent.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Great. Well, it's good to end
on something positive.
Well, I don't want to take it down a notch.
Uh-oh.
But
did somebody else die?
No. But I'm going to talk about one thing that I sent to you earlier this week.
Uh-oh.
Which is the discussion of a fourth
here we go again.
Ghostbusters
Mr.
movie.
Ghostbusters.
Killing me. Ivan Reitman, you're killing me. Just stop.
He's got to be yanking your chain, especially the thing with Harold Ramis coming back digitally
as a CGI character. Stop. Even his daughter said that would be terrible, and her father would never have approved of that.
Right.
And there's the animated movie, which, you know what? I really hope the animated film is a lot like this.
Oh, that would
Resident
be
Evil,
awesome.
like that same vibe, like gritty, just really fun.
And they don't have to go R, but they could do PG-13.
I mean, I'd like it to teeter on R if possible, but then again, the originals didn't. But come on, man, the fourth one.
But
they want to merge the two universes together.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Okay,
the 4 female Ghostbusters.
Guess what? No way, Bill Murray is coming back for that. No way.
They got at least 3 Ghostbusters left.
Yeah, well, no way Bill Murray's doing it. Not a chance.
Yeah, that's what they said to about Harrison Ford. I'll just put it out there. That's what they said about Harrison Ford.
I don't think Harrison Ford is as difficult as Bill Murray. Let's put it that way.
I think Harrison Ford is a giant pain in the butt. I think he is beyond irascible at this point.
So what do you think you think he dies in Blade Runner 2049?
I bet you he does.
Isn't that going to be the greatest thing? The next Indiana Jones comes out and he dies in that too.
Right.
He's going to die in everything just to be like, you can't put me in these.
But he proved the point.
Well, hey, you know what? Got to get that cash grab, right?
That's right.
You know what? This was all right. This was good.
You feel better?
I enjoyed myself.
Little intervention.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I enjoyed myself.
Good.
All right, well, catch us on the interwebs.
We're all over the place.
iTunes.
Soon to be on Instant Articles.
Yes, we're going to be on Facebook and Apple News and anywhere you can read on your mobile device.
But you actually have to listen once in a while.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't mind doing this every week.
Well,
but it would really help if you actually listened once in a while.
But we're going to start creating original content around things we find interesting, and we'll let you know as soon as trailers are released.
Right.
And give you some good insight on that. I don't think I'm going to watch it that often, but just the preview alone has me terrified. So, on that note.
On that second note.
I am Jon Stewart. Coming back to
HBO. I am
HBO.
Jimmy Kimmel.
I'm coming back to HBO. Jon Stewart.
I have a very distinctive voice, and I don't know.
And yeah, you need to enunciate a little bit, please.
Please. They're going to pay you that much cash.
Just
enunciate.
a little bit.
Syllabus.
Apples and oranges.
See ya.